Welcome to season 2 of Rabbit Holes with Aaron, where we haven't made any drastic changes, but we believe we get better with time. So enjoy the wide constellation of guests that I have on this show. Enjoy our conversations. Hopefully, you get some nuggets and you can learn and grow and become a better person. Thanks for listening. Welcome to Rabbit Holes with Aaron. I'm Aaron, and today with me as a guest on our program, I have a friend, Jim Chamberlain. Me and him go back a few years. We met at a cigar Bible study in Frisco, Texas, was where it was at that time. And we've been around the block a few times. We've been out, we made some mistakes, we launched
Yes,
into some things, and we're back again. So thanks for joining me today, Jim.
thank you. I'm glad to be here. I enjoy spending time with you. We've always had a great time together, and this is a different way, but this is cool. This is cool. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for taking a little bit of a leap of faith to step out into something new and give it a shot. I'm sure you'll be great at it. Well, I invited you. So, I guess I'll start you off today with a question like, what is something new and exciting happening in your life right now?
Well, probably the newest, and I won't go into a whole lot of detail now. I was kind of trapped in West Virginia on a job for a while.
Okay.
I've been back here now, back home here in Dallas for a year. New job, new career, something I've done in the past, so it's very familiar. Um,
Okay.
but most importantly, I'm back spending all of my time with my wife. We both work from home, so we have breakfast in the morning together often, lunch together often, and dinner together. And um, seeing my wife every single day is such a huge, huge blessing. I can't tell you. I can imagine
Sounds
how.
like you missed her.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I can understand how inmates feel. I remember, in the service, and you know this, and you get deployed, and I tried to look at it as a deployment. You know, I was kind
Mm.
of didn't have a choice, in my situation. Prayed about it constantly, and wasn't going to make any drastic changes until I felt like God was moving me to do so. And but he had something to teach me, and I think I learned it, and now I'm back. I took the hard path, which I tend to do sometimes.
Okay. What was I'm just curious what you feel like he taught you
Well,
that
it's
you learned.
yeah, it's and I actually figured this out from somebody at the last men's advance, you know,
Hmm.
because even when I came back, I still was still struggling with, God, why did you have me there for such a long time, you know? And I couldn't figure
Yeah.
it out. And then somebody who wasn't even a believer was sharing a testimony about something, and some of it had to do with his military and his combat background and stuff and all. And he said something, and it just clicked. And essentially, you know, I've always been kind of I think I've been a nice guy, for the most part, but there's a difference between being
Yeah.
nice and being kind, you know?
Yeah.
And the way I kind of say it, and everything I do is kind of like comical. So except that here in the beginning. But I'm not the guy that would have necessarily tripped you to watch you fall. But I also wasn't the guy that would have maybe not necessarily stopped to help you up. And to me, that's kindness, you know.
Hmm.
And one of the things that started happening as I was praying and I'm also I'm the guy that stands in the shopping line, and I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody to talk to me. I'm just like, leave me alone. And
Yeah.
and God just really started moving on me, and it just started with being kind. saying nice things to people, to the checkout girl, or to the waitress, or to the person behind me and stuff. And it grew and grew. And it sounds so silly, really, but in my daily, I was at Walmart literally every single day. It was the only social thing I had going on. So I would go to Walmart, buy what I was going to cook, go home, right? So one day it was really raining hard, and I had my umbrella. That's my military background, right? I was prepared. And there was a lady standing there with some kids, and I really felt like God impressed on me, and I walked up and I said hi, and I said, if you're comfortable, I said I'd be happy to walk you and your kids out to your car with my umbrella so you don't get wet. It was a big stadium umbrella, and she accepted, and
Yeah.
I walked her out, and uh, and then um, and I kept doing that, and then the next thing was when I was, you know how like a lot of times you'll see a mom getting in a car, she's got to unload the kids and get the kids buckled in, and then she's got to walk like 100 yards to put that uh, cart in the right spot. And I remember as a parent that used to frustrate me because I didn't want to walk away from my kids, you know. And so if I would see someone, and usually it was like a mom or maybe an older person or something, and they were unloading their groceries, and it was a long ways, I would just walk up and say hi. I said I'd be happy to take that cart for you when you're done, so you don't have to walk away. And you'd be amazed at how appreciative they were.
Yeah.
Oh my God, thank you, And I didn't like lay hands on them and baptize them in the Spirit at that moment. I would just say, they would just say thank you, and I would say, hey, my pleasure. I say, God bless you, and have a great day, and leave. And and I was doing this over and over and everything. And then one day, um, and slow me down if I'm going too long here, but one day,
No, you're fine.
a lady walked up to me and she was like all excited, hi, hi, and she says, I don't know if you remember me. She says, but you walked me and my kids out to the car. And then she turns around and she grabs her husband's attention and calls him over and introduces. Um, and then so we were talking for a minute and everything. And then she shared that they were having a challenge or whatever. And I told her, I said, I said, if you're okay, I said, I'd love to pray for you. And I said, I can pray for you right here, or I'll pray for you later, whatever you're comfortable with. And they said, yeah, right now, you know. And so this just kept building and building. And over the course of time, um, it was rare that I would walk into Walmart without someone going, hi, Jim, how you doing? And somebody that I prayed with. And then the employees all knew, not all of them, but you know what I mean. The They
Yeah.
knew my name. I got to pray with, you know, and it just took me out of, God took me out of this kind of shell that I was in, of not really paying attention, having my blinders on and focused on me and what I needed to do, and looking out, and kind of freaked out my wife a little when I got back, and I was stopping, and what are you doing? And I said, this is what God wants me to do. It's just to share, be Christ-like, share, be nice, be kind, and she's all good with it now. So long
Yeah.
story, but yeah,
Yeah, I like what you had to say about being nice sometimes isn't the same thing as being kind. Or at least that's what I took from it. And I think
yeah,
about how being nice is sometimes being dishonest to keep the peace.
yeah,
You know,
can
and
be.
being kind is bringing the truth into the situation and letting the truth do the work, and help, you know.
Yeah,
Um, and yeah, this kindness that you're, exhibiting in like the Walmart parking lot is they have an honest need. You can step in and help out, and you're, honoring their autonomy and asking to help, and they're allowing you to help and appreciating it and realizing in that moment how much time and effort they're saving you, making it safer for their kids. So yeah, it just seems like that is kindness. Um,
yeah, and I never asked them for anything, you
yeah,
know, and I think that's key. It was just, hey, no problem, thank you, and God bless you, have a wonderful day, and just walk away, and um,
yeah,
it was free.
It's kind of a pay it forward mentality too,
Yeah, kind of.
you
Yeah,
know, like no strings attached.
yeah,
And I've run into in showing kindness to people, and I think that's something we might have a little bit in common. Like sometimes people are like, "Well, let me pay you for that, whatever." Maybe you give them a ride to get a tire or something,
hmm
and it's like, "Let me pay you for that." And I'm like, you know what? Pay it forward. Find somebody else that needs help and be kind to them. Of course, I didn't come up with that, but I saw it in a movie, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
most everybody else. And but it's something you can do every day, and it's making the world a little bit better place. So I appreciate it.
yeah. I think the place I was, it was in West Virginia, is I would say a spiritually starved area. A lot of drugs, a lot of, um, every one of my employees had either been in prison or had a parent or a child in prison or
Wow.
died from drug overdose. Um, that not one single person in my employ was untouched by the meth, primarily in the fentanyl that's just rampant in that area of West Virginia, and you know, um, and uh, I don't think those people particularly see a lot of kindness, you know,
Yeah.
and so I think maybe I don't know, I mean I'm convinced that God wanted that's what God wanted to teach me, and it's changed me as a person. It's changed me as a believer, in how I interact with
Hmm.
people, um, uh, and until He says stop being kind, I don't expect that. I'm gonna keep. I'm, gonna, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
keep. I'm just gonna keep walking the walk that God's given me. Yeah.
Well, and thank goodness he doesn't ever tell you to stop being kind.
Yeah.
There's so much good in that, and there's so little of it in the world. It'd be like, you know, stop working or stop making friends or whatever.
Yeah.
It's so opposite. And when I think about kindness, sometimes I'll figure out what things are by looking at whatever I figure the opposite to be. And maybe it's meanness. I don't know, but yeah, there's
I,
room for kindness in the world, that's for
yeah.
sure.
I think even worse than meanness is apathy. You know,
Mm. Yeah.
and I think a lot of the people that I was around at that time uh, probably experienced a lot of apathy. Um, a
Mm.
lot of them, their family, because of the drugs and the prison and the jail,
Yeah.
and because of all those things, their relationships with their families have been severed. And maybe justifiably in some cases, um, and or not, but either way, um, apathy, feels like apathy, whether you think you deserve it or not. It's still, losing those relationships with your brothers or sisters or moms and dads, and whatnot, and friends, um, because of your own activity. It still hurts,
Yeah.
you know? Um, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about, yeah. Well, I wanted to explain some terms too, because you talked about men's advance, and I haven't actually ever talked about that on my podcast before.
Yeah.
So we set up a men's retreat at that Bible study at the Cigar Lounge, and instead of calling it a retreat, you call it an advance.
And you know why?
So that's what we're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, because we're supposed to be advancing, taking ground,
that's right.
and really it happens there a lot. You bring however many guys together, and we sit around a campfire and smoke cigars, and somebody leaves with like a therapeutic kind of prompt, and we go around and talk and get to know each other better. So yeah, it's a good time for sure. It's good for you. But that's what he's talking about when he said that. Yeah, and also I think about being kind. I was thinking that a person would. When I think about what stops us from being kind, and that may be being distracted. What
Yeah,
do you think about that? Like our cell phones or our TVs or our sports
yeah.
teams or
And just our own life, you know, um, the work, the stuff. It's easy to become mono-focused on yourself, and So I think, I think this is what God has taught me is just as much for me and my benefit and my growth as it is, hopefully, for the people that I encounter, you know? Um,
Yeah.
and I don't need to be focused on like my junk. It's easy. I can give that to God and be focused on other people. And I think that's kind of what he wants us to do anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's fun. Thank you for sharing that insight, that new thing that's happening in your life. That's exciting. Making a difference in the world, one person at a time.
Yeah. I didn't think about it that way, but yeah, you know.
Well, it makes me think of a story that I haven't reflected on in a long time in my podcast, probably since the first or second episode, and I called it Starfish Saviors. Because it's the person that walks along the bank, the little boy walks along the bank, you probably heard this story, and he picks up the starfish and throws them back in the water, and effectively saving a starfish's life. Well, the beach is littered with them, and an old man is walking along the opposite direction and says, "What are you doing? You could look at all these starfish. You'll never make a difference." And he picks up another starfish, and he looks at the old man and throws it in the water and says, "I made a difference for that one." And so, that's what we're doing. We're making a difference for that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
That's a great
Well,
story.
cool.
I've not heard that. I've not heard that before. I'm going to remember that. I'm going to use it.
You never heard that story
No,
before?
no, I'm going to use it.
Oh
I'm
my
going to tell
gosh.
everybody I made it up. It's all me.
Well,
Just
there's
kidding.
two things that I learned from that. Like one of it is you need to go listen to the first season of the podcast. So that's one thing I
There
got
we go.
today. um, but no, it's been a favorite story of mine. I haven't talked about it in a year, but it's been a favorite story of mine for many years. I heard it first in the Marine Corps, and I would read it, to my students every morning when I was at communication electronics school. Like we'd have a little mentoring time before we started training them on how to fix radios, and I would back then you'd print it all off on a printer. We didn't have cool smartphones and all of that, so you printed it off, and I had like a motivational list of stories that I would read to them, and I'd kind of go through them over the course of the month that I was training them and read them all different motivational stories. But that was one of them. And I did a pretty good justice. You've got the framework. Some people change
Yeah.
it around a little bit, but it really all comes down to this relentless helping of others one at a time. You know,
Yep. Yep.
it's nice if you can help others a million people at a time, but it just seemed like that's not a solution that's been working lately.
Yep.
It's
You know,
better
I
to help one at a time.
yeah, I think there's like general things that God wants us all to do, but I think also that God calls us individually to certain specific things. Um, I remember
Yeah.
when I was doing jail ministry in Florida, I felt like God was calling me to completely 100% abstain from alcohol,
Yeah.
and that was on me, you know. And so my wife and I, we'd go out to dinner, and she'd have a glass of wine, and I wouldn't. But what I realized after a short period was, these guys that I minister to in the jail that I'm preaching to, if one of them walked in and saw a beer in front of me or a glass of wine, it might challenge their faith. It might, you know, challenge them
Hmm.
because in their mind, is that number one or the first one this month or is that number six tonight? You know, um, and man, that lasted like
Okay.
7 years. 7 years, about 7 years that I didn't have, and not even at home. Just zero. But that was something God called me to. I think God calls us to different things at different times, either for our growth or for the benefit maybe of the people that are within our ministry circle.
Yeah. Wow, that takes me down all kinds of rabbit holes. Which there's one that brings to mind first, and that is the time that God told me to stop doing something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to hit every Texan in the fields. instantly because I was just driving along one day, and it was my habit to go about 10 miles over the speed limit because that was legal, or at least they wouldn't pull you over for it. So
Yeah.
somewhere between legal and you won't get caught for doing it or
Yeah.
something. And so that was my habit. I feel like a good person, but I was driving like Mario Andretti other than that. Like pulling, cutting people off, getting over here, passing
Yeah.
people, being upset if they were in the way, normal Texas traffic things. Um, and God one day, he told me, he's like, I want you to drive 10 miles an hour under the speed limit. And I was like, you have to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Like, why? Explain to me why, but when God talks to you, you're like, well, there is God. So, it's just like he whispers in the back of your head. And of course, I knew that wasn't Satan, right? I knew
Hmm.
that wasn't an evil voice because it was only going to be good for me and other people, right? Even though it
Yeah.
made me a little upset at first. And and I'm not saying this for anybody else. You guys, all the rest of you listen to this
Yeah.
podcast, go ahead and drive as fast as you want. This was a lesson for me. If you can gather something from it, then do it. But
Yeah.
it was a lesson. It was sounded like your lesson. It's not as easy. It gets easier over time. But when you first get it, it's like, I don't understand why. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. And at the time I was going through this metamorphosis of my faith where I was like, I am a Marine that can be used by God like a holy warrior. I am awaiting orders, God, or whatever. And God's like, well, let's get your speeding fixed first, you know. And so that wasn't the first thing, but that was one of the things in the unexpected answer to my prayers of being a better person was you're going to drive slower. And I was like, and I had to set my cruise control for 10 miles an hour under the speed limit because I was so used to passing people that
Yeah.
them passing me felt strangely unsettling. Like
Yes.
I was losing in the race of life or whatever.
Yeah.
It's pretty intense. But anyway, so God asked me to do it. I did it. And now I don't speed very much anymore, and I don't really hardly ever get angry in traffic anymore. And I've learned the secret to traffic that if you go over and go 10 miles an hour under the speed limit in the slowest lane, that all the mess just passes you by.
Yeah. Good point. Good point. That's behind the steering wheel is let me just say that I took the fish off the fish bumper sticker off of my car
Oh yeah?
because yeah, driving once you get behind the wheel of the car is the um, it's challenging sometimes when somebody cuts you off or whatever. It's um, the first thought isn't to be kind, you know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
um,
Well, I'm going to look fancy on here and say the Latin term inster quintilis invenitor, which I learned from listening to Jordan Peterson. But basically, it means if you want to learn the absolute most, go to the darkest spot.
mm,
Go to the place you're most afraid of to grow the most.
yeah,
And yeah, yeah, traffic was a pretty dark spot for me, apparently.
yeah. Well,
Well, and it's hard for most probably men in Texas. There's probably women too, but I know of men. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. It's almost feels like a defensive action sometimes. You know, it's like um, you have to um, you have to drive to that certain speed, and then you have to protect that gap between you and the car in front of you so nobody cuts into it. Um, and then when you realize that you've had to slam your brakes on because you were protecting it too tightly a couple of times,
Yeah.
that's when you learn, that's when you learn to back off. So I backed off. Not saying that I've slammed my brakes a bunch of times. We'll just say that I backed off the defense.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're reframing it.
Yes.
We're reframing it. We're grabbing it and yeah, using positive words to talk about it now. For
Mm,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I learned that lesson for the most part. And there was other lessons, and I love that about when you listen to the lesson that he has for you. You finish that up, and you're like, okay, that wasn't that bad. And then he has another one, like right on the heels of it.
Yeah.
And the lesson I guess that I've learned on the heels now after probably been 6 years since he told me that about driving under speed limit. I don't have to do that anymore. I can drive whatever speed I want. But
Mhm.
I drove so slow for so long that I figured out that it really doesn't matter. And when I thought I was going to race and get there on time, I always got there, and I was always not the most late person. So, and I'm not late very often, but when thought I was super late, I got there and everybody else was 30 minutes later than me. So I was like, why am I driving fast? What am I increasing my risks for?
Yeah.
You know, let's just
Those extra
let's
miles,
just use
there's no sum gain. You find out that
yeah.
you're really not gaining anything. And,
Yeah.
because I'm sure you've seen the guy that zoom, zoom, you see him coming up behind you, and he zooms around and cuts you off and he gets stopped at the same light you're stopped at and you're right next to him,
Yeah.
you know? And
Yeah.
then three lights later, he's still right there at the same light, but he seems to be driving so much faster.
Yeah. He's got energy, that's for sure. I've been that guy before too.
Yeah.
But now I'm starting to realize, and another lesson that's come out of that is a patient man gets whatever he wants
Mm.
at exactly the right time. And I learned that one in traffic too. When a guy missed the whole red light, he was only two cars back from the light. He missed the whole
Mm.
red light. He woke up in time to get through the red light and left all the rest of us still waiting there, which is the ultimate Texas tragedy and betrayal, and lives need to be taken for such heinous acts. But in that moment, God was like, you know what? Do you have to get there a certain time? I'm like, no, not really. Is it like an emergency or anything? No, not really. Then you're just hanging out talking with me while you're waiting. And I'm like, well, I guess that's not bad. You know,
Yeah. Yeah. And
he
you know
talked
what
me
I do?
into it.
Yeah, I literally plan to be there 15, depending on what it is, but my plan is if you and I have a 9 o'clock, well, I didn't do too good tonight. I got stuck in a meeting, but
That's okay.
normally, if we had a 8 o'clock dinner meeting, I'd be there between 7:30 and 7:45, and
Hmm.
I'd rather be there and wait on you than have you wait on me, and it gives me plenty of time to account for traffic and everything.
Yeah.
My wife, not so much.
Yeah.
She's the
Well, and I
master.
I can go ahead.
I would say she's the master of getting there 1 minute after.
Oh, fashionably late.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we've talked about a few things so far. We've talked about God intervening and teaching us stuff. We've talked about being nice versus being kind, and we've also talked about some of the lessons I learned. Where do we want to go? Was there anything in there you wanted to explore more, or would you like to go and look for another rabbit hole?
I have a rabbit hole for you.
Oh,
Um,
let's go.
yeah,
Perfect.
yeah. I know that you've been traveling a lot, and um, I mean to almost all the states, if not all of them, but well, except for Hawaii, maybe Alaska. But um,
Yeah.
I mean, what's your, I don't know, either your favorite place or the thing, or maybe the place you went to that, wow, was not what you thought it was going to be. That this was
Yeah.
either one direction or the other. It was either absolutely beyond or way below your expectations.
Well, I never ran into a place that was under my expectations.
Oh, that's good.
Surprisingly, even the people, like you might say, like downtown Detroit or somewhere else where you might be afraid for your life, I was always surprised at how nice people were and how helpful and friendly, regardless of race
Yeah.
and age, even. So that's something I was always surprised with. I mean, I didn't know what to expect. I'd never been mugged before, right? But I was in the Marine Corps 20 years, so I'm always taught to look out for possible danger situations. We're not going in any alleys at like 3 a.m. or any nonsense like that. We're in bed usually by 10 p.m. So we avoid most of the problems. Yes, but yeah, that takes me to, you know, we were surprised. I'm not going to mention our favorite place because I don't want anybody to feel bad in any state. And it
Gotcha.
seems like that's the reaction you get every time. If it's not their state, then they're a little sad to hear that it wasn't their state that was the favorite. And we've kind of moved beyond favorite states because we have seen the 48 contiguous states. We
Awesome.
visited them in about a year and a half time frame, split up into two separate trips. And yeah, we got to see a lot of the states. We liked the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. It was really peaceful. We fell in love with the forest there. And it turned a terrible time when we were actually broke with a couple weeks left in the month of our budget. And we just were like, well, let's get a camp spot in the forest. And we're like, okay, we'll just go sit here in the forest for 2 weeks and do nothing. And we ended up really enjoying our time in the forest, walking trails, running, swimming, and then enjoyed also coming out of the forest and driving for 10 minutes, and then our phones light up with all the text messages we missed. So that was nice too, to be so disconnected.
Mhm.
And we would go to town to get some groceries or something, and there'd be somebody talking louder than we were used to, and we'd have to go back to the forest. Like, hey, babe, do we really need this for the grocery store? No, let's go back to where there's no people, because we were there all by ourselves in this big forest campground. Um, so that was a really nice, unexpected treat where we thought it was going to be the most boring, lame place to be, nothing to see for us or whatever. It ended up being a really special place. And we ended up staying there for a total of 6 weeks, I think.
Wow.
So that gives it's a lot, got a lot of time. And we stayed in Pennsylvania for a month. That was a lot of fun in the forests and the mountains of Pennsylvania. Um, and the highlight, and I don't know if you knew how our trip worked, we basically would visit family or visit Marines I served with. So we
Mhm.
had Marines I had served with in Connecticut, and we had Marines I had served with in West Virginia. The other surprising thing was Maine. So we went up to Maine to visit my wife's cousin. We even visited second and third cousins sometimes on occasion. And
Wow.
so we visited like one of her second cousins in no, what did I say? What is it
Maine?
that Maine? There we go, Maine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. And so we were up there, and they were telling us like they lived there year round, and that it only got below freezing 2 times last year in their city in Maine,
Really?
and it was only for one day. And because when I think about Maine, I think about like Game of Thrones Beyond the Ice Wall. I don't even know why. Like it's everything snow, everything's ice.
Yeah,
People live in ice year round, and it's not necessarily that way depending upon the geography and where the mountains are and where the ocean
that's
is.
true. That's true.
So they didn't even get snow one time in their part of Maine last year. But they have
Wow.
another house where they have another house that's further north into Maine, and it gets below 40 every year for most of the winter. So it's just a matter of where you're living at. So
Yeah.
I would say check the real estate for all year when you buy a house somewhere.
Yeah.
It might be wonderful in the springtime. But yeah, so that was surprising to find out because I just thought it was frozen in Maine 9 months of the year or something. And it's not necessarily the case anywhere in America. And even in the Upper Peninsula, where there's a band where they get snow every year, and then there's parts of the Upper Peninsula where they never get snow. So,
Wow.
and that's right on the Canada border. And I wouldn't think that, but once you go there and talk to the people, that's what you find out.
Wow, that's interesting. I never, I kind of had the same view as you. It's Maine. It's covered in snow from, the end of November till the end of February. It's, you know, it's like Alaska, the outback or something, you know.
Yeah,
But you know, yeah. And they show you these TV shows where these people are up hunting beaver, you know, cracking, walking out on the ice and trying to. It must, yeah. That feeds into what I don't know.
yeah. Well, and I'm sure there are plenty of parts of Maine and the northern states along our northern border of America that are that cold and that are that frozen. But yeah, that's more accurate of Alaska,
Hmm.
where it's like you got those 24-hour days of sunlight and the whole weeks where you don't have the sun even come up over the horizon. Yeah.
That's crazy. Now, did
Eh,
you ever get to the like the Grand Canyon?
yeah. Saw the Grand Canyon. Yeah.
That, that's one
Been
place
all,
my wife and I want to go.
yeah, it's beautiful and it's so big. It's
Grand?
yeah, it makes puts everything in perspective, I guess, of
Yeah,
how small we are and how big everything else is.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a few places and a few of the surprises that we encountered along the way. Um,
Now, did
yeah,
you?
it was a long trip. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
did you when you were active duty? Did you travel a lot when you were active duty? Did that travel kind of feed into this, or just something you decided that you wanted to do?
Well, actually, that's a really good question. And it, to give it justice, I'm going to go back to childhood briefly. So it all started 52 years ago. So I hope you got a comfortable seat and a beverage because it's going to take a while. No, I'm just kidding. Um, no, but it started. We moved every couple years. My dad was in the army before I was born, but after I was born, he worked for a company called Service Master, and he
Hmm.
was good at cleaning stuff. He was a janitor, and then he moved up to supervisor. Then he moved up to a manager over all the janitors, and so he just kept moving up every couple of years, meteoric rise or something. And we ended up in Texas, where I joined the Marine Corps from. But the Marine Corps was actually completely, in some ways, it was the same. So I was like nomadic. I joined the Marine Corps and I lived. That's the first time I ever lived anywhere longer than a couple of years.
Hmm.
And so I went to 29 Palms, California to start off with. I lived there on that base for 10 years and different units on the base. So I moved around on that base. But it's the longest I've ever lived anywhere in my entire life. And then I moved to Virginia for 3 years and then North Carolina for the last seven. And yeah, and then I came back to Texas and I lived the longest I've ever lived in one house. I lived in a house in Little Elm for 5 years, and that's where I
Hmm.
kind of got to know you guys.
Yep.
And yeah, and so and now I've moved so much, I've got to be into the hundreds or maybe even starting into the thousands of times I've moved. And by movement, I mean like not sleeping in the same place.
Hmm.
Like for more than a couple days. I've been staying here. I mean, we're here in Texas now for 3 or 4 months before we start traveling internationally. But yeah, it's different and it's a different whole lifestyle. Its strengths are made bigger because nobody ever chooses this lifestyle, or very seldom do people choose this lifestyle anymore. Or maybe they choose to get on the merry-go-round for a little bit and then when they get back off it, it gets moving too fast. I get that too, but yeah, it was like I was raised this way and the Marine Corps kind of did that for 20 years. I felt like I was staying places too long when I was in the Marine Corps.
Yeah. You know, my
So,
childhood was similar to yours. My dad was Army first, then Air Force. I'm thinking he did 23 or 25 years total.
mm-hmm,
Retired from the Air Force. He uh, saw combat in Korea and in Vietnam. Did 3 tours in Vietnam. One in Korea. He was actually captured. He was a POW, and escaped. About 5 years ago, we got the paperwork from the Department of Defense documenting his capture and when they found him, and he had escaped, and a an army unit found him uh, out in
Okay.
the wilderness. But we lived in Germany, France, and Italy as a child, and then came back to the U.S. and moved mostly southern states, and
Mm-hmm.
and all. And then my dad retired, and then I joined the Air Force, and um, and I went to Hawaii. Thank you very much. Your tax dollars paid for that. um, but from there, I was able to travel to wonderful places like Japan and South Korea, Okinawa, places that some folks, some listeners might know was Anahuac in Kwajalein. Got to go
Mm.
there, and I went to Guam. So I got to travel there, and then uh, after I got out, came back and um, just my wife brags that she's moved our house, 7 times, 7 times in 3 years, and that was my career, my job, and kept moving and everything, and I've been in Dallas here for 9 years, maybe coming up on 10 years now. This is, I think, the longest I've ever been in one place. I absolutely love it.
Okay.
I love it here, and I'm up in the McKinney side. You know, um, I love
Yeah.
this area. The folks are friendly, um, and I love downtown McKinney. My wife and I go there, and we just walk around and find an appetizer somewhere and sit down and have an appetizer and a glass of wine, and you can walk around, take the wine with you, and we walk around. I light up a cigar, and she goes into the little shops, and unfortunately, because I have a cigar, I can't go into the shops with her. But
Right.
it's the price I'm willing to pay, and she's okay with it. um,
Yeah.
yeah, I love to travel,
A
but
few other,
I like being in one place.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say because you made me think about I didn't fully answer your question about where I've been. I have been in the 90s. I went on a couple of deployments to Okinawa, and
Hmm.
out of Okinawa we went down to Thailand, and on one of them, so I got to go to Thailand both those times, but also on one of them I got to go to Hong Kong on the way to Thailand, and we had a 96 in Hong Kong, so that was fun. And then the second time we were at Okinawa, we flew on a plane and did a battle site study of Iwo Jima. So I got to walk around Iwo Jima, go down into volcanic caves,
Yeah.
and walk all the way up Mount Suribachi, which is hard even with a road, and they didn't have a road back then. But yeah, it was kind of it was fun. Got to see a few things. Gosh, I'm trying to think. There's must have been another place I went. I don't remember internationally. But I went to Thailand a couple times, and I remember how cheap it was and how far my Lance Corporal dollars got me, my
Yeah.
E3 dollars in
Yeah.
prepay. And so me and Jill, that was kind of our backup plan safety net. So we might be a truck and the RV broken down, and we're like, do we got to take us to Thailand yet? So that's our like escape getaway plan.
Yeah.
If things got too bad. And they never did get too bad because here we are. But then we decided maybe we should go to Thailand even if things don't get bad. And then
Hey, you can
that's what
always,
led us.
yeah, you can always go and check it out. I've watched, I'm sure you have. I've watched a lot of videos of folks that went to that have moved. A lot of them GIs. I gotta plug
Yeah,
in my phone here. Sorry. Um, and a lot of them GIs that have gone on their pension. And in these videos, they talk about, you know, how much is an apartment, how much does it cost them monthly. I mean, there's tons of videos out there, and it's a very,
yeah,
very economical place for Americans if you have some kind of a retirement pension, money coming in for or whatever, um, to go and retire.
yeah. You're right. We've seen so many YouTube videos and TikTok videos on that very thing. So once I thought about it, remembered how it was in the 90s, it's kind of like our TikTok automatically populated with all these Americans that are living over there, and they say prices about how much everything is, just like you're talking about.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of more fully fleshed out our plans, and different things we want to see when we're over there. And yeah, so that's what was going on for us when we were traveling around the country, and we learned so much. But just like you and your wife, we spent all day long every day together, and hardly ever fought at all. I mean, we might get grumpy, but
Hmm.
we're working through our past, we're working through our triggers, we're, learning new things and reading books together, and just anything you could think of that might be like, that'll definitely make your marriage better. We've just been doing it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
having fun while doing it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's kind of what got into our mind. And Joe was the one that came up with the idea to drive to the 48 states, 48 contiguous states. She came up with a plan, and I tried to find veterans that I served with, and in the states we were going to, and through Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that worked out too. Got to visit a lot of veterans I served with, which I never thought I'd see again. So that was another side bonus. Got to see family, and I don't know if you know about family, but sometimes the more you see them, the more they want to see you, and that's kind of been the way it's been for all the family we visited as well. They felt really special that we came to visit them. The beautiful thing about being a nomad is that really most people aren't doing the same kind of road trip visiting,
Yeah.
things that they used to
Yeah.
as families, getting together for Christmas and stuff like that. And COVID broke that out of us a little bit,
Yeah.
but yeah. Well, thanks for the question. Got to talk about traveling and nomadic lifestyle. It's it's different. I've been thinking about nomadic lifestyle a lot. Yeah, you live it. No, but that's the thing is, I was living it and I never even thought about it. Because it makes things a lot different. Because everything in the world revolves around like ownership and property ownership and taxes and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and tracking you down to your address and where's your last address. And it's like, I, you know, I have a lot of addresses, not on purpose, and I still don't have them. But like on the road, we had, we'd have to come up with a place to get a package mailed to, and we're like, well, we're visiting our uncle next week, and so I'd call him. On Amazon, there's all kinds of addresses on there because where we had to get stuff mailed,
Yeah.
to pick it
Yeah.
up
And that's a
along the
lot of
way.
logistics to have to plan, and that um were you were you
Yeah.
prepared to do that, or did just like you're out there and you're like, oh crud, we got to order something, and where am I? Did it just kind of like pop itself up on you?
Yeah. Yeah, it usually was a repair. That's the only time we really ever ordered anything was when we needed repair parts. And so then, luckily, every time we did, we were close to a veteran that I had just visited, and I got it mailed to them. Um,
Yeah.
but we do have this service, and this is good to mention for anybody who may be looking for something like this. They're a registered agent, and they can keep your mail, and they can either scan it or they can forward it to you. They can hold on to packages or forward them to you as well. And it's called
Hmm.
Escapees, and you can go online. You pay a yearly subscription, and they'll handle your mail for you. And that allows you to travel around America and get any of your important mail. Maybe I got
Right.
mail from the VA sent
Yeah.
to there, and then every few weeks or so, when we get in a place for a week, then Jill can have that sent to wherever we are, or sent ahead to family. So
Yeah.
yeah, it takes a little bit more logistical, figuring of stuff out, but made it work.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. And I think about the benefits all the time of being nomadic, but there's a few drawbacks too. It's like, well, I don't know. I was gonna say it's harder to make friends, but actually it's made all of our friendships stronger. being
Yeah.
gone. You wouldn't think
Yeah.
of that. You wouldn't think of leaving. But since you're here, I could talk about, when I first left the Bible study, the cigar Bible study on Friday morning. I was there. I was there every Friday for maybe 5 years. I don't know. Sometimes I led, sometimes you led. It was a
Religiously.
good time. Yeah. And I was there religiously. And then we moved farther away, me and Jill did, after we got married. And it was like it started to be over an hour to get there. And I started to do it every week. And then I realized that there was other groups around me and other things that were going on where I wouldn't have to drive an hour and a half or two
Yeah.
hour round trip or whatever. I could just go to that instead, somewhere close. And so I started to do that. But every once in a while, I still go back to that Bible study. But what I noticed was I thought, I got to grow, got to go, got to leave so that I can grow. And I came up with this saying, sometimes to grow, you got to go.
Yeah.
But then I realized when I came back to visit that everybody else grew too. And
Yeah.
so sometimes I thought I was just the only one growing and I've got to get out of here. This place is a drag or whatever.
Hmm.
And you get out there and you're like, yeah, sure, I did grow. But they grew too. And so I come back and my spot is filled with somebody else and somebody else is reading the scriptures or somebody else is doing the role I used to fill and they
Yeah.
grew into that spot. And I grew, into something else moving along the road. But yeah, sometimes to grow you gotta go. And it's funny, and that you're one of the people that of course, that I saw grow. So I leave and I come back, and for a while there, you were at the Bible study still, and sometimes lead the Bible study, and sometimes filling other roles before you went out for your business venture for a few years. But yeah, I remember that very well.
Well, I know.
And that's the benefit of the nomad life too. Sometimes to
Yeah.
grow, you got to go. What were you gonna say?
Yeah. I was going to say, the camaraderie that we had. And here's the thing. It's, you and I weren't on the phone, every Thursday at 7, for the last 3 years and stuff. But I think we built enough of a relationship that if, I don't know, if some night at 2 o'clock in the morning you were struggling, I hope anyway, you knew that you could pick up the phone and call me, and I'm not going to be mad that you woke me up,
Yeah,
and I feel the same way, that and that's what true friendships are, and the true friendships and camaraderie, um, uh, is beyond, your nomad lifestyle, my being
right.
stuck in West Virginia for 3 years. It's beyond all of those things. It's funny.
Yeah.
My first night home, I had not seen my wife in 2 years, two
Mm.
solid years. I had not been, you know, next to her. And that first night that I got home, but we were on the phone all the time, every single day, multiple times a day. We even did our anniversaries. She went to Applebee's here, I went to Applebee's there, and we had our anniversary dinner, uh, doing a video chat. So we made
Yeah.
effort, and so that first night, and we laid down to go to sleep. My first night home, and I was just kind of holding her, and she said, "Wow, this doesn't feel weird. It feels like you were never gone."
Oh.
You know,
Yeah.
um, uh, I'm not going to get any allergies right now, but you know, um, yeah, that was. I don't know why I brought that up. It was kind of fitting in, but
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah,
what friendship is,
yeah,
right? In
yeah,
real friendship, like distance can build a relationship. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, is what they say. And it can work the same way for friends.
yeah.
And I've noticed that irony that a lot of my friendships have grown even closer as I traveled around America and was far away from everybody. It was interesting to see that dynamic
Yeah.
play out.
And that's not because we like you better when you're not around. It's just a phenomenon that happens.
Well, I'm glad you said that out loud, because otherwise I might have never thought that. Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
invited me.
well, and it's fun. It's fun. I like coming back to that study every once in a while and saying hi to
Yeah,
everybody and watching everybody grow. That's my
yeah,
favorite thing. Like
yeah,
I can come back this last time I came back to the group and I noticed people, and I'm not going to say anybody's name right now, but I noticed them and how they look so much more calm and relaxed and
hmm
peaceful. And I couldn't
yeah.
help but say it to them.
It was great. It was
But
great
yeah,
seeing you. I mean, it was great. I mean, you walked up behind me and like, whoa, totally surprised me. I mean, I didn't know if you were in town, and whatnot. And
yeah,
um, I remember my first time going back. Uh, yeah, it was different. It was changed a lot, but there were a lot of the old guys that you and I knew that were still there, and
yeah,
it's nice to walk into a place where people recognize you and remember you and just welcome you. Um, it's a great thing for men. It's a great thing for men to have is a peer group,
yeah.
that they respect and that respect you. It's important to us.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Cheer song. I can't remember all the words of it, but we're always glad you came. You
Yep,
want to know that you can go. Troubles are all the same. You want to go where everybody knows your name.
yep, yep.
Yeah,
Some wise words in there. Certainly are.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to
Well,
see you this
that's
weekend.
yes, you will. I'm going to go on the advance.
Yep,
As it turns out, one spot opened up and I said yes. So here we are. Here we
that's
go.
awesome. That's awesome. We can
Should
do
be
some more
fun. I
do some
hope
more
I can
catching
find a
up.
comfortable bed to sleep in.
Yeah, and I can remind you of how rough we had it in the Air Force compared to you Marines.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's exactly what you can do. I'm not even gonna come back against that. It's like
uh,
sibling rivalries that we have.
yes.
Well, it has been wonderful talking to you. We're almost ready to wrap up, but we have time if you want to chase down one more rabbit hole. If there's anything lingering, we have that option. I think I covered all the things that I wanted to ask more about. So, what do you think? Anything else? Anything else you want to share with the group or?
Well, I just want you to know that I really appreciate you inviting me, knowing that I'm such a silly person. But inviting me on this, I appreciate that very much, and want you to know that you and Jill have been on my prayer list. So even if we weren't face to face and stuff, I've still been talking to God about you and asking Him to keep you and bless you and keep your car because I saw some of your posts keeping your trailer and your car running
Yeah.
and um, you know
Yeah.
um, and we have a couple of connections. We have our service, we have our faith, and we have our cigars. And
There you go.
it's funny how even cigars can have. It's just a great connector. So I appreciate the friendship. And I'll never forget when we were doing the flags and we were rehearsing and
Yeah.
practicing and to fold the flag to do honors for fallen soldiers, and um,
Yeah.
it was one of the
Yeah, I
best
was in charge of
experiences.
drill.
Yep, yep,
They put me in charge of drill. I remember that.
yep.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
It
Well,
was.
yes, thank you, and also thank you to all the listeners who showed up. And I didn't realize I was saying thank you to the listeners, but I really appreciate listeners. Listeners cause the world to work the way it's supposed to work. Listeners are diffusing problems all over the place, and listeners are learning. So thanks to all the people who are listening and learning from this podcast. And I hope you learn a lot and that it helps you. And I guess that's it. Goodbye.
Bye bye. God bless you.